Hello, everybody, and welcome to Expert Examiner IELTS. I've just been speaking probably for about 5 minutes and realized that the stream wasn't actually live. I'm now looking at the stream on my phone and still see that we are not live yet. But I know that there is some type of delay between the time that I speak and the time that I actually go live. I'm just going to look in the settings to see if I am live, because I'm still looking at YouTube and I still don't see myself. Okay, I see myself now. Yay, I'm live. All right, so what are we doing here today? First of all, welcome to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn. I'm an English language teacher and an English language examiner. I've been doing examining for a long time. I first started examining back in 2012, I think it was. I worked for a language school, which was also like a Cambridge testing site, and that's when I first started doing examining. I've worked on a bunch of different language exams, and I do some stuff here on YouTube where I give free practice IELTS speaking tests to people and give them feedback and help them to understand what their score is and why their score is what it is. The reason we're doing live streams is because, unfortunately, about 70% now of winning candidates. So usually I post on Telegram and say, hello, people of Telegram, would you like a free practice IELTS speaking test? If you're interested, leave a message saying, I'm interested. Then usually about 50 or 60 people write, I'm interested, I'm interested, I'm interested, and then one person is selected at random for the speaking test. But unfortunately, recently, about 70% of the people either just don't respond, or they say, oh, I'm not free right now, but I'll be free in, I don't know, 20 minutes or an hour, or yeah, I'd like to, but I don't have Zoom. How does Zoom work? And it kind of drives me a little bit crazy that I have to waste time chasing candidates. So unfortunately, I've changed just for December and January. I've got a new trial where I'm going to try to do a couple of live streams a month, maybe 1 or 2 a month, where I will take candidates and give free practice IELTS speaking tests, but the ones on Telegram, those ones now cost £25. The reason for £25 is that I feel like it's a price that's cheap enough that it's affordable to many people, but also it's not so cheap that I will be overloaded. I don't want to be overloaded with candidates. I'm not here to make money. I'm hoping to get, 2 candidates a week, maybe 3 candidates a week. So £25 seems okay. I have had, requests from, I think, 7 or 8 candidates already for this. So, yeah. If you are in the chat, please do let me know that you're there, just because I see a few messages from before saying, like, we are here, let's start, but I don't see any messages in the last, 10 minutes or something like this. So if somebody is there in the chat, please do just leave a message to say that you're there. I'm going to have a quick look on. Okay, cool. I do see some messages there. Great. Awesome. Yeah, so the sad thing is that there are lots of people in the Telegram chat that really want these IELTS speaking tests. And for them, it must be crazy to think like, oh my God, just pick me. Just pick me. And so many people write that. Just pick me. I'm ready. I'm ready to go right now. And it is unfortunate, right? Whenever you do something for free, unfortunately, half the people will think like, that's amazing. I really appreciate that opportunity. And then half the people will just write, oh, it's free. I'll put my name in and, I probably won't win. And then I'll go to sleep, or I don't know, go to Spain or whatever. And then they just don't reply. So, Anyway, I thought I would just speak a little bit just to check that the tech is okay. We will get into our speaking tests very soon. First of all, I just want to mention something about the process. So I will select today's speaking test candidates at random from the Telegram chat. I haven't posted in the Telegram chat yet, but when I'm looking for a candidate, I will post in the Telegram, and you should be ready to go immediately because I will pick the winner, and as soon as the winner is chosen, I will send them the Zoom link and you will join me on Zoom. So if you plan on taking part, you should really have Zoom installed. Also, yeah, I think it's okay to connect via phone. I don't think there's a problem with that, but your connection should be stable. For speaking part 2, I've been trying to work with this tech. Usually when I have candidates, I just share the screen and they can see the cue card for part 2, the topic. But I use a program called OBS for streaming, and OBS plus Zoom with the screen share, it has huge problems. So I'll share the cue card with you via the chat on Zoom, but at the same time, the people watching will see the cue card on the screen. I hope it works. We'll see. Yeah, and I'll give you the speaking test, and I'll also give you a little bit of feedback at the end, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. We'll have a chat about your feedback, and then I'll get to the next speaking test. I don't know how many I'll manage today, but we'll see how we are for time. A quick point also about the IELTS speaking test in general. Of course, if you're watching this video, you are probably very familiar with the format of the test, but there's still some information that I repeat to all candidates, right? And that is that IELTS is a multi-level test, so it's not like, Cambridge Proficiency or Cambridge Advanced or Cambridge First, which are they have a target level, right? Like with FCE or First Certificate in Cambridge, the target level is B2. So if you pass, you get B2. If you exceed, you get C1. If you're a little bit worse, you get B1. So you have like 3 levels in a test. IELTS is not like that. It's designed for anyone. So multi-level test. Really, we don't see many A2s. We see almost no A1s. Not many A2s. Mostly candidates will be B1, B2, C1, and in some cases C2. But it is a multi-level test, and the test reflects that. So in part 1, the target level is approximately B1. We would fully expect B1 candidates to be comfortable answering the questions in part 1 of the speaking test. You have familiar questions, personal topics. All of the questions are about you, right? How often do you do this? When did you last do this? What do you want to do? What music or food or sport do you like? All of the questions are about you. Your brain doesn't need to do a lot of work to find the answers to these questions because your brain knows the information and you just need to say it in English. This is very different to part 3, which is target level C1, where your brain often doesn't know the information. The questions are not about you, they are about recycling or education or society or tourism. Many of these themes are themes that you don't spend a lot of time thinking about, and some of the questions may be about something that you've never thought about. And so the difference here is this cognitive load. In part 1, your brain knows the information. You need to say it in English. In part 3, your brain doesn't know the information and your brain needs to produce an idea. And at the same time, you need to produce language. So this creates a big cognitive load, a heavy cognitive load. And that's why part 3 is difficult. We are not expecting amazing, expert, nuanced, sophisticated answers in part 3. We are not expecting you to know about, recycling methods and trends and things like this. However, we do expect candidates at C1 level to be able to speak meaningfully about these topics, and the difference, I think, between a C1 and anything lower is that a C1 is comfortable speaking through their uncertainty. I'm going to repeat that point. A C1 user of English is comfortable speaking through their uncertainty, right? What can governments do to make sure that they get more tourism? I don't know. I know like in many countries, tourism now is like super important, right? Because it's not just about the money that, people spend in shops when they go to a particular country, but also they, spend money in restaurants, and, that hospitality sector can be huge, especially in developed countries where, there's not a lot of manufacturing. the money that they get from tourism is really important, but what can they do? I don't know. Sometimes you see those adverts like "Welcome to Dublin" or something, and they always seem cringe for me a little bit. I don't know. Maybe the most basic things are just make sure that your country is kind of safe and clean, and you have people who are welcoming. But I don't think governments can, actively make adverts or promotions or something like this, right? That's a perfectly fine C1 answer. I don't know what governments can do, but I'm comfortable speaking through my uncertainty. We will see, I'm sure we will see today, the candidates today will try to answer the questions. They will try to appear like experts. They will try to say something like, well, I think governments should definitely create advertisements which showcases the wonderful beaches and governments must also, and like they speak as if they should know the answer, and then you kind of see the panic when there's like a follow-up question like, how can governments do this based on your answer? And then the candidate suddenly breaks down because they can't support the opinion they've put forward because they're always looking for that right answer. It's a really common thing I see in part 3, and even though I've said this now, we will still see this problem, I think, today, but we'll see. So between part 1 and part 3 is part 2. Target level is about B2. We would expect B2 candidates to be, comfortable doing part 2. You have up to 2 minutes to speak, so it's a long turn. It's great for examiners because we can just sit back and listen to the language that you produce. The obvious thing between a B1, a B2, and a C1 here is how long the candidate speaks meaningfully for, not how long the candidate speaks for. Anybody can speak for 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. How long can you speak on topic? How long can you stay on topic for? The B1s usually race through the cue cards, right? They say, the person I admire most is my mum, and I know my mum since I was born, and my mum is really friendly, and she is very nice, and I love my mum because she's always kind. And it's like, okay, that was 15 seconds. What are you going to do now? And then they say, oh, and another person I admire is my dad. And it's like, no. That is not what we do in part 2. Stay on topic, talk about one thing for 2 minutes. So the B1s usually break down and they start repeating or going off topic or moving to a new topic. I find after about maybe 30, 45 seconds, the B2s can speak meaningfully for about a minute and then they break down or they repeat ideas or they go off topic. But the C1s typically, not always, the C1s usually have a nice organized talk with a clear flow, and they have like nice little transition words, sequences, say first and then and after that, and they help you, they guide you through their long turn. So those are the 3 parts. Of course, we measure you on your grammar, your vocab, your fluency and coherence, and also your pronunciation. I guess everybody knows the format of the test. I'm just going to get up my tests because they've just disappeared a moment. So I'm going to get them. While I do that, I'm going to post into my Telegram the first call for candidates. So this will be just the first one. If you're not successful with this one, don't worry about it. If you haven't joined my Telegram chat yet, then check out the description of this video where you can see a link to my Telegram channel. That's where I will post the call for candidates. I'm going to do this right now. So I'm typing into the chat. If you're watching and you'd like to be the first candidate, please reply to this message with me or interested. Cool. So I've posted that now in the Telegram channel. So if you're watching and you'd like to be the first candidate, just reply to this one, and one person will be selected at random, and I will invite them on to Zoom, and as long as your internet connection is stable, then you will be the first candidate. I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes, or not a couple of minutes, but maybe 45 seconds, just to give people a chance to type in the chat. And at the same time, I'm going to pull up my speaking tests. I have a lot of speaking tests now. I make most of them. I make most of them myself. I used to use some that I found elsewhere, but yeah, it's a lot of fun for me to write these IELTS tests. I have done some work where I was writing questions for exams, and it's a fun job. Probably even more fun to make the tests than it is to examine the tests. I do like examining though. But yeah, making the tests. Sometimes I look at the tests and I think, that's just a horrible test. The candidate might misunderstand something here, or it's not very clear, or it doesn't feel right. Like questions, things like, have you ever given somebody a pen or a pencil as a gift? I remember that question before and thinking, ugh, it's just horrible. I'm trying to find my tests and I'm not doing a very good job of finding them. IELTS speaking tests 3, that's not it. Should be that one. Just give me a moment, I will find it in a moment. Let's see, is it that one? I think so. Yeah. Cool. So I have my tests ready. I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat, just in case there are any burning questions that people have posted. Can you also talk about the difference between C1 and C2 levels? Yeah, I can. I mean, the band descriptors are there, right? The band descriptors are publicly available online. So you can see, band 9. Now, an interesting thing about IELTS, I find, is that B1 and B2 is very, very generous, right? If like a 5.5 is a B2. Now, in my world, a 5.5 is definitely not a B2. It's a solid, but not even an impressive B1 candidate. The other side, so I think, if you're aiming for B2, IELTS is a great test for you to do because it's much easier than Cambridge First to get B2. However, the other side of the scale, the C2 is really difficult to get. You need to get 2 9s and 2 8s to get C2, and that's tough because even if you get a 9 and 3 8s, for me that's an obvious C2 user of English, but on the IELTS scale it comes out as C1. So C2s let's break it down, right? C2s, what can they do in terms of grammar? Well, they don't make any mistakes apart from mistakes that are characteristic of a native speaker. So they might, colloquially say like, he don't know nothing, which is grammatically not standard, but it is the type of mistake a native speaker might make. There is a lot of people here instead of there are a lot of people. Those type of grammar mistakes are acceptable, but in terms of grammatical accuracy, we just don't see mistakes from C2s. With C1s, we see mistakes, but the mistakes generally are non-systematic. So we don't expect to see the same mistakes. We might expect to see a candidate make a small mistake, something that they slip with. So these slips are not the same as errors. A slip is when you make a mistake with grammar, but you probably know the grammar, but for some reason when you're speaking, you're not very attentive and you make that kind of mistake. We expect to see those slips. And even for a band 7, some of those slips might be systematic, so you might have a problem with articles or something like that. But for that C2, we expect you to be close to perfect. In terms of fluency, the important thing with fluency is sustaining something called connected speech. There are lots of aspects of connected speech. Somebody says, hello, could you shortly explain what is happening? No, I've done that. I'm going to call a candidate in a moment, but I will explain after the second candidate. Yeah, so for fluency, sustaining connected speech is really important for that. I think that's the thing that people fall down on. The difference between C1 and C2 is rhythm and connected speech. In terms of vocab, you don't need to be showy-offy, but usually when I hear a couple of instances of like, C1, I can understand all of your vocab and all of your vocab makes sense, but there are some things that a C2 can do that a C1 can't do. And it's things like, there was an example recently where someone said, oh, he had a distant relationship. And it's like, I would say he was in a distance relationship. And so there are little, like, it is my birthday versus I have a birthday. Sometimes little bits of language like that about how natural the vocab sounds can be the difference between C1 and C2. Yeah, and you know, a willingness to go into topics in more detail. We see that from C2s. But, you know, most people really don't need to worry about C2 level because the majority of people who take IELTS, not just the majority, but, you know, 95% of people aren't going to get the C2. And so I don't want to spend so much time here talking about being a C2 when most of the candidates here are going to be 5.5, 6.0, 6.5, or 7.0. And so you really, if you are at that level, if you're at B1, B2, or borderline B2, C1, forget about C2. It's not within range at the moment. But okay, I've posted that message in my Telegram chat, my Telegram channel. We've had quite a few responses, I believe 17. Wow, that's more than I'd expected. I'm going to pick one at random. Close my eyes. Okay, cool. Let's have a look. The first one we have is going to be... Second. Okay, it's going to be somebody called Timur. So congrats, Timur. You have been randomly selected as the first participant for today. I'm going to get in contact with you right now. Hi, Timur. You can join here. And I've sent the link to you, Timur. So, oh, no. That's the wrong one. Let's delete that. Okay, no, let's just send the proper link. Sorry about this. Not the greatest. I'm okay when it comes with tech. I'm just not 100% perfect. Okay, so I have invited Timur. Now, let's see if this works, because my plan was, or my idea was, if I do this as a live chat on Telegram, probably all of the candidates will be serious candidates and they will come to the speaking test, but it's not guaranteed. Oh, Timur is online and he has seen my message. Just checking the test, making sure I have the correct part 2. Yes, I do. Awesome. So I think I'm ready to go, just waiting for the candidate Timur to show up. I noticed my computer is a little bit... I have I bought an expensive computer just so I could do these live streams, but it's still struggling a little bit. I'm going to go back to the chat to see if anyone's here. Timur, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to join. So if you haven't joined in 2 minutes, I'm going to choose somebody else. I'm sorry, but I don't have time to waste all of this. Just having a look back into the chat. What do we have? Yeah, so Maria says, can you explain what's happening? Yeah, in short, I'm in my Telegram looking for candidates to do free IELTS speaking tests. When they join, I'll give them a speaking test, I'll give them some feedback, I'll give them a score, and then I will invite another person to do another speaking test. Amazingly, Timur isn't here. He has about 70 seconds. Timur has replied, but he's still not joined. So I'm just going to wait a little bit longer. Mike asks, how many candidates are you going to test? It depends on how fast I get through them. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure right now. Definitely 2, hopefully 3. Could we get to 4? I don't know. Depends. It's really disappointing when people, you know, I've written to Timur. I've asked for him to come. I've sent him the link to Zoom, but he's not joining. We'll have a 20-second countdown, and if he hasn't joined in 20 seconds, then I'm going to choose another candidate. So let's... Really exciting content, but 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, no Timur. Let's go to the next one. So I'm going to choose another candidate at random. Let's have a look. It's really disappointing when candidates really just don't show up. I don't know why Timur put his name in if he didn't want the test. I just can't understand why people would do this. The next one we're going to go is someone called Sasha. Let's have a look. So, Sasha, I'm going to send the link to Zoom. I know Sasha is quite a common name in a few different places. So if you're watching and you're called Sasha, hopefully you are the right Sasha. Okay, let's find this link. Cool. Okay, Sasha, I've just sent you a message on Telegram with the Zoom link. So if you're ready, you can join. Of course, I'll give you, as much time as Timur, a couple of minutes if you need to, drink something. Oh, she's already joined. Amazing. Let's see how this works. I hope the tech works. This is my first time streaming on OBS and Zoom like this. Message on Telegram. Ooh, hello, Sasha.
Hello.
Hi. I just heard myself on YouTube in the background. Have you muted this now?
That's right.
Amazing. First of all, before we start the test, can you just tell us something about yourself? I hear that you have a beautiful British accent. Have you spent time in Britain?
Thank you a lot for saying that. No, I've never been there, but I'm a big fan of British accents, and there was a time in my life when I was trying to master it.
Can you tell us something about your IELTS prep? So, are you planning to take the test soon? Have you taken IELTS before? And what goals do you have when it comes to IELTS? Like, why did you decide to take this test?
Yeah, I'm going to take IELTS next week. I booked an exam. I don't remember exactly, the 10th or the 11th of December. And I haven't taken it before, but I'm acquainted with the criteria up to an extent, but I cannot say that I'm fully prepared. That's why I follow your channel thoroughly, and I find your videos extremely useful. Thank you a lot for making such great content. I'm taking IELTS just as I said earlier today, because I want to spruce up my life and add some challenges to it. So I'm an English teacher, and I believe that arranging such challenges just helps us feel alive and still stay, I believe, competitive for the job market.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, it definitely is a challenge. I think the speaking part is quite easy. The reading, I think, is very challenging, and the writing people always struggle with. But okay, I won't keep you waiting much longer. So I'll start the test in a moment. Just remember there are 3 parts. When it comes to part 2, I'll send the cue card for part 2 in the Zoom chat. So I will give just a bit of extra time to make sure that it is visible for you and that it's visible for everyone else. But I'm not the most technologically gifted person in the world, and this is the first time I'm streaming on this platform, so I hope it works out. I will be recording, I'll be recording. I will be following the time carefully, so if I interrupt you for any reason, it doesn't always mean that you've done something wrong. It just means I have my own time pressure and I have to stick within that time. Do you have any questions about the test, the format of the test, or anything else before we start?
Yes, no.
No? All right. Well, best of luck to you. Let's get going. Good afternoon. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
Hello, my name is Sasha Nadobinko. Actually, my full name is Alexandra, but I prefer to be called Sasha.
Okay, thank you, Sasha. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Do you work or do you study?
I work as an English teacher.
And how long have you been doing this work?
Wow, I've been doing it for quite a long time, approximately 10 years, but I used to work with kids and now I focus on working with adults.
And what do you like most about your job?
It's rewarding. I really appreciate meaningful connections that are created with my students, and I like seeing the difference that hopefully I make, and seeing results is also something that I cherish.
And is there anything you find particularly difficult about this job?
Sure, almost the same things. Wherever you see no progress or result, that's the time when the so-called imposter syndrome emerges. And being quite an empathetic person, you can't help um, starting, questioning yourself. And well, it's it's something that sometimes is difficult to estimate,
Okay,
and
thank you.
um,
Let's move on and talk about your hobbies and interests. Do you have a lot of hobbies?
I wouldn't say so, but one that I'm really into is dancing, and I've been dancing boogie woogie for 2 years.
And what were some of your biggest interests when you were a child?
I don't remember, but my mom tells that I would paint all the time in my childhood.
Mm. And would you like to take up a new hobby in the future?
I wish I could, but currently I believe I have too much on my plate, and you juggling work, kids, and hobbies is not a walk in the park. So no.
And do you know anyone who has an unusual hobby or interest?
hmm Well, I guess I know one. The other day, I was told about a guy who makes transcription of music, and that's something that I hadn't heard of before, and I was quite taken aback how it is possible because he is not a musician himself. He's just an IT specialist, and still I believe he's just naturally
Okay,
inclined.
thank you. Let's talk about supermarkets now. Are there a lot of supermarkets in the place where you live?
Well, yes, there are a lot of them. However, I do not go there often. I prefer having my food delivered.
And how often do you go to a supermarket then?
Rarely, maybe once a week, or maybe twice a month sometimes. I don't like it, really.
And is there anything in particular that you don't like about shopping in a supermarket?
It's time consuming. And it's time consuming, and whenever you go there, and if you happen to feel hungry, you just forget about your shopping list and buy everything that your eye that just whatever jumps out at you, and then I just find it frustrating.
Mhm. And finally, apart from food, what other things do big supermarkets sell?
Um, there is a tendency these days among supermarkets that they they tend to sell everything. I mean, toys for children, of course, some stuff for domestic chores, and towels, covers, and plates, like basically everything that you need at home.
Okay, thank you.
And some supermarkets even sell clothes.
Thank you. All right, in this next part of the test, I'm going to give you a topic, and I would like you to speak about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. But before that, you'll have 1 minute to prepare for your talk, and you may take notes if you wish. Do you understand? I will now share the topic in our chat. Can you see the topic?
Mhm.
I, I'd like you to talk about a time when you did something as part of a team. Your 1 minute of preparation time starts now. Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you'll have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
The first event that came to mind was our dance performance a year ago. The goal of this performance was to express our love and appreciation to our dance coaches. So the participants were our dance students. I mean, I'm as a part of this dance group. Was secretly preparing for this event. We recorded a song in advance, and at the day of this performance, we were singing and dancing, and that was the song that had been written for our coaches. And I can say that this event was a huge success because we reached our goal. Our coaches were touched, and one of them even was with their eyes welling up. And that's something that we did, with our hearts, and that's why I believe that it was not only memorable, but also cheerful and something that united us as a dance group.
Okay, thank you. So, you've been talking about this time when you did something as part of a team. Let's speak a little more now about teamwork. In what other situations might people work together as part of a team?
Well, at work, definitely. People tend to collaborate and have team projects. Um, well, the first thing that I can think of is that IT industry, um, where they have to liaise with other departments and collaborate together and cooperate. Um, well, apart from work, um, people living in one neighborhood can think of some ways how to improve the area
Thank you.
where they live in.
Do you think some people are naturally good at working as part of a team?
I think so. Uh, it boils down to their communication skills, I believe, and some people do have that natural inclination to cooperate with others easily, while other people I would say, bound to work solely because they cannot just agree on something with others.
So, what happens to those people who are not naturally good at working as part of a team? Do you think it's a skill that they can learn?
I hope so. And I believe it's something that should happen naturally, because usually people are guided when working in a team, and they can be said what to do or what not to do. And striving for excellence, people might make some conclusions on how to improve their performance, and thus gain that skill one day.
Let's move on and talk about leaders now. How important do you think it is for leaders to be able to work as part of a team?
Mm, I believe it's a must. Mm, but uh, uh, well, it's something that I've never thought of before. But I guess that good leaders are those who have that experience of working in a team as a part of a team, and they know how things are done, and I believe that excellent leaders are wired to deal with people in a special way. What I mean is that they show empathy, and they can put themselves in their team members' shoes. And at the same time, good leaders need to be able to demand results.
Now,
Um,
some people think that a good leader is someone who has a very strict or controlled vision of something and is determined to achieve that no matter what other people say. What do you think of this view?
Well, I see where you're coming from, and I do agree that they should have that clear vision. Um, but I can't help mentioning that they shouldn't be ruthless and inconsiderate concerning their team members and the people they work with. Otherwise, they cannot be called good leaders. Because I also believe that good leaders are also are role models for their teams, so people do want to follow them.
And do you think all leaders are ambitious?
Wow. I need a second. um, um, there is something, there is part of me that wants to answer that no. I believe people are different, and probably there are some leaders who are not ambitious at all. They might be just, they might have been put into this place, and that wasn't their desired choice to be a leader, and mm, so they might have no ambitions. But a leader without ambitions can barely be called a good leader, I guess.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test.
Thank you a lot.
All right. So first of all, congratulations, you survived. You didn't die. The first question I ask every single candidate is, "How are you feeling?" Because I know it can be very nerve-wracking, especially if it's a live stream or if it's recorded. You're speaking to a stranger. This stranger is listening to your language and judging everything that you say, either positively or negatively. So, firstly, how are you feeling, and how do you feel about your performance in the test?
Mhm. First of all, thank you a lot for this great opportunity. And when you started your live stream, I felt anxious and jittery, and well, I still feel uncomfortable, but much better. Not only because that's the end of the test, but because of the atmosphere you're creating. So I'm feeling much better. And but of course that I mean my hands are still shaking. So where was I? And speaking of my performance, oh, Uh, of course, there are always things that uh, as they say, there is much to be desired. And as far as I know, you are expected to incorporate some complex grammar structures, and I know that I haven't done it at all.
What
And
is a
some of
complex grammar
my
structure?
I don't know, some cleft sentences, even though I don't like inversion myself, but some experts say that you have to show examiners that you're conversant with advanced grammar. And I
What is
just
advanced grammar? So you mentioned cleft sentences. What else is
cleft
cleft sentences?
sentences, inversion,
Inversion.
like conditionals, mixed conditionals, and the like.
As a candidate, do you ever, I don't know, do you ever go into a test thinking I need to use a mixed conditional? Or in
Oh,
any
no,
situation in your life, have you ever gone into a job interview and thought, okay, I need to use inversion and I need to use cleft sentences? Have you ever done
no,
this?
never. I
Okay.
do that only with my students in a bid to show to
Mhm.
provide them with some revision and recycling,
Yeah,
of the grammar we learn.
sometimes we want to make sure that we are exposing our students to language that we want them to hear and pay attention to. The IELTS speaking test isn't like that, and I strongly recommend against going into the test thinking I'm going to use inversion. You know, you ask people like, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Well, not only did I have toast, but I also had coffee. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't cut it. I'm sorry. What do you think are your biggest strengths as an English speaker? Not just in this test, but as an user of English, a speaker of English. What do you think are some of your biggest strengths?
I'm always eager to speak. I believe that can be considered as a strength, and again, that's two sides of a coin. On the one hand, I'm eager to speak. On the other hand, I know that some of my ideas can be confused, and I jump from one idea to another, and that can be counted as my weakness. I'm afraid that
The question
sometimes
was
my
your
ideas.
strengths.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I want to believe that my vocab is quite precise and hopeful and natural. Um, well, I know that I hesitate at times when I'm thinking of what to say, but speaking of the hesitation connected to grammar vocabulary, I guess I don't have these ones, which is also a strength in my point of view.
So
Oh, my point of oh my goodness.
I'm going to ask the chat just to put in the scores that they think that you deserve. I haven't looked at I don't know if they've put it in, but if they haven't put it in, please, people, put your scores in the chat, what you think Sasha deserves for this performance. I'll give just a little bit of my feedback. We'll start with the strong thing. So immediately noticeable that your pronunciation is really good. It's not just that you have an English or a British accent, which it can help for sure, because having an accent that sounds like a standard variety of English definitely makes it more, easier to understand for the average person. Your accent has no effect on intelligibility at all, so you can be understood fully with ease. You have really nice vowel sounds. I really like the vowel sounds that you have. They sound very British. They don't have to be British. They could sound American or Australian, or even you could speak with a Chinese accent or an Indian accent and still have good phonology. But you have phonology that matches up very closely with British English. There's a lot of stuff with connected speech. Immediately use this used to, and you connected it. It wasn't like use it to, like some people say, but used to do things. So I think there is enough justification in there for a 9 for the pronunciation. So awesome. With the grammar, you mentioned, that you didn't use enough complex structures. I definitely felt like you had enough. You had past perfect passive, like this song had been written, which is, a complex structure. There is a difference between a complex sentence and a complex structure. Nobody needs to worry about complex sentences. I see YouTube videos sometimes about like how to use complex sentences. Well, I like tea and I like coffee. That's a complex sentence. There you go. Nobody needs to worry. They use them all the time. But you also use participle things like being a da da da, you da da da, which again shows really you might not think of it as much, but we teach these participle clauses. Usually we introduce them at B2 and then we solidify them at C1 and we master them at C2. Definitely feels like you have mastery of that. Importantly, with your accuracy, I didn't notice any grammatical mistakes at all. There was one which is like half grammar, half vocab, where you said like, as my mum tells, instead of like, my mum tells that blah, 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 where it should be my mum says that or my mum tells me that. So I don't know if you know about these different patterns with say and tell.
I don't know, but that's I don't remember this one.
Yeah, but we're recording, so you can watch it back.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, there was. You used give or give, I think, once with vocab instead of give or take. I think I don't know. I wrote down give or give, but I don't know if you said give or give or take. I'm not sure. So I wrote something down with a bit of a question mark. But in terms of grammar, again, I see enough justification for the 9. You don't need to do any more. You don't need to force yourself to use any more. Accuracy is definitely the first thing that we notice. Your accuracy is off the charts. It's really good. And a candidate that's super accurate with just 2 or 3 sprinkles of advanced complex structures, things like past perfect passive, things like participle clauses, they absolutely count as a range of grammar. Importantly, the grammar, when we talk about range, it's not just the range of complexity, but it's also how appropriate the grammar is for the situation. So, when you have to talk about the past, do you use past tenses? If you talk about the future, do you use future time constructions? Don't see any problem with your grammar, so I can award the 9. I think your vocab is your strongest point. You have a lot of stuff, like you have a lot on my plate, which is very idiomatic. You use cherish. I think you use that to good effect. You use imposter syndrome. And the one I loved the most was to well up. The phrasal verb to well up. I don't know if other people noticed it, but if people don't know what to well up means, it's when tears start to form in your eye. So, and again, it's a lovely bit of, non-common idiomatic language. I definitely think there's enough. Sometimes it does feel like you're trying quite hard with your vocab, and there certainly might be some examiners that think like, is she trying to trick me by overloading the vocab? It's always a difficult thing for candidates, how much of it do you want to go into the test and just use English versus how much of it is a strategic use of particular, showing off bits of language that I tend to prefer more human responses, and I don't think it's not immediately noticeable that you're trying super hard, but I did think in a couple of instances it's like, okay, you're just throwing that in because you're trying to impress me, or is it because it's meaningful? So I would be careful with just how much of that kind of language you use, but I think I am okay awarding the 9 for vocab.
Goodness.
However,
Fluency very generous.
However, fluency and coherence is not 9, unfortunately. At times, there seems to be some chaos in your answers. You have a willingness to speak, which is great, right? Which is required for that band 6, band 7, a willingness to speak. But sometimes, like, maybe it sounds strange, but at times I wish you were, like, stupider. Because I think you probably have a lot of ideas in your mind, like a lot of sophisticated ideas about, leaders and what they should be. And we could probably sit and have a cup of tea and speak about leadership for an hour, and then you could get out all of your thoughts. But when you're time constrained, we just want things like, well, I'd like to say that not all leaders are ambitious, but I think, if you want to be in that role where, ultimately you're the boss of a company, or you're strategizing policy or something, I definitely think there needs to be some kind of ambition. If you don't have any ambition at all, you're probably not even going to apply for that job. So I would say, yeah, all leaders do have ambition. And I think that's a more direct way of addressing the question. Sometimes it's like you're conceding, or there's an internal conflict over your ideas, And unfortunately, that makes your coherence a little bit tricky to follow. I wouldn't say that your answers could be understood with ease. I think they can be understood. There's definitely, if you watch it back, you can follow what you're saying, but I think you could be closer to the point. But we shouldn't worry about this. I think there is enough in your fluency for an 8. I don't think you have a lot of, you don't have hesitations to find grammar and vocab. It's just that your ideas they can be a little bit too complex. So, become a bit more stupid. And you might achieve that 9. I know sometimes with teachers we're overly analytical about the language choices that we make, right? Because we spend our lives with our students, always thinking, okay, they studied the third conditional in the last class, so I'm going to try to make sure I use that now. And sometimes that can have an effect on our fluency too, that we have too many brains working, and one of the brains is analyzing the language that we're using, and that can be a barrier to fluency. I definitely expect you to get 8.5 in your test next week. You might get a harsh examiner and get a score of 8. Anything less than an 8, and I think you should be very disappointed. An 8, you should think, okay, it's not bad. 8.5 is what I think you'll get. I wouldn't be massively surprised if you got the 9, but I don't think you'll get it. I think you'll get 8.5.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do let me know. Just put something, or my email address is everywhere. Please do let me know what you get, because I always want to know what scores candidates get and measure them against the marks that I give. I don't think I don't know. Some people say my marks are too generous. Some people say my marks are too harsh. As an examiner, I've never had a case where a mark that I've given has been proven to be wrong by another examiner, and I've been doing this for a long time. So, but having said that, all examiners are different, and some are harsh and some are generous, and that's just the pain. But Sasha, I've been speaking for a long time. Do you have any burning questions for me?
No. Thank you a lot. I'm just surprised because I thought that my performance wasn't that good as you estimated. But yes, I absolutely agree with the point made on my fluency and thoughts. Thank you for that comment. I'll try to follow your advice.
Cool.
But
Well,
it doesn't have something to do with English. It's just the way
I
I'm
know.
wired.
And the exam, the exam doesn't just measure, the English that you know in your brain cognitively. It measures the performative aspect of speaking. Reading measures reading, listening measures listening, and so on. So speaking, sometimes, unfortunately, a person can know English perfectly well, but due to psychological things or just patterns of behavior or being an introvert or being too extrovert, sometimes that can be a barrier to fluency. I don't think I've given any advice or any pointers apart from maybe try to simplify your ideas. You don't need my advice. You've already got to the highest level of English. The only bit of advice I would give you is, if you can, try to find a way to relax and to know that foundation of English is there. You're really, I don't think you can get less than an 8, but maybe try to prove me wrong. I don't think you can get less than an 8. And so it's there. It's in the bank. You don't need to do anything extra. You don't need to do anything special. If you can, relax, try to enjoy it, and what will be, will be.
Thank you. It was a blast. Thank you a lot.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to choose the next candidate, but best of luck to you.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that performance from Sasha. I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat to see what the others have given. Some people gave 7777. Wow, you thought she was a 7. Some people gave 8.5. Masha English Up. Well done, Masha English Up. We agree. 8998 says Nguyen. Sorry, it's a Vietnamese name. I recognize the surname Nguyen, but I can't say the first name. 8998, 8.5. Cool. It definitely could be an 8998. There may be an argument, even though the pronunciation has amazing phonology, there were maybe some instances where an examiner could say that sustained connected speech wasn't there. I think there is enough for a 9, but could be an 8. Yeah, I think 8.5 overall. Why not says 7989. I could see a justification for that. 7989. Grammatical range and accuracy, I'm interested why you thought the grammar wasn't a 9. I didn't find any mistakes. I have some notes here. They were, interestingly, they were probably more inaccuracies with vocab, even though I thought vocab was her strongest point. I don't know if she said on my plate or in my plate. And in those instances where I'm not sure, I just give the candidate the benefit of the doubt, and what will be will be. So interesting. I'm glad that many people agree with me. Some people are very harsh, marking as a 7. Quite a few people said band 7. This is higher than a 7. If she got 7.5 in the speaking test, I would be a little bit surprised. I think her floor is an 8. I don't think she'll get less than an 8, and I think probably she'll get 8.5. Well done, Nguyen. Umar says now she's 8999. That's what I estimate this performance as. And we should always remember, right, when we give marks to an IELTS candidate, we are not giving them, I know it sounds strange, we're not giving the candidate marks, we're giving the performance marks. And the performance can change from day to day. One day you might be in a good mood, one day you might be in a bad mood. It doesn't mean your level changes, it means your performance in that 11 to 14 minutes can be different. And examiners are very different. Some people are harsh, some people are a bit more generous. But generally, you know, most IELTS examiners, if their marks are wrong, that will be found. They'll do their retraining. They'll get recalibrated until their marks are more standard. Being, you know, 0.5 marks different from another examiner is absolutely fine. Yeah, anyway, cool. So hope you enjoyed that one. We do have time for another one. Hesitation happened a lot, I guess, says Asadbek. Yeah, I do think, you know, the hesitation, I think it was a problem. The candidate mentioned, you know, as a personality type, that sometimes the ideas maybe become a bit complex or a bit confusing, and that can be a problem. The articulation of thoughts, that can be a problem. And I think that's where the hesitation was coming from. Yeah, but, you know, overall, a very, very, very solid performance. Wasn't expecting to get any C2s, but I do think the candidate is a C2 user of English. I'm going to go back into my Telegram. Oh, we've got a message from Timur saying I haven't installed Zoom yet. So I'm going to make this point. I'm going to make this point one more time. I know it sounds strange, right? Download Zoom just in case you are selected. That sounds a bit weird. It sounds like, but why? Unfortunately, there will be a time limit because I can't sit here just waiting for the winner to download Zoom. So in a moment, I'm going to go into the Telegram chat and I'm going to invite the second candidate. Once that candidate is selected, they will have about 3 minutes or 4 minutes to join, but no more than that. So please, if you're putting your name forward, make sure that you are ready to join. If you're using a computer, I don't even think you need to install Zoom. I think you can go from the browser. I think if you're on the phone, I think you'll need to download the app, but it's not my job to explain to you how to use Zoom. I've mentioned the tests will take place on Zoom. It's not my job to explain how to install it and so on. Anyway, I'm going to go back into my Telegram. I'm going to write a message in there and I'm going to say the same thing. Let's type it in again. If you're watching and you'd like to be the second candidate, please reply to this message with me or interested. Cool. So that message has now gone into Telegram. Cool. If you're not part of the Telegram channel, there is a link to the Telegram channel in the description to this video and to every video that I've made. While we're waiting, I will just remind people that the free speaking tests take place now for December and January. The free speaking tests will only be in the live stream. This is a trial. Unfortunately, a lot of candidates, winning candidates, don't reply, and I end up wasting hours and hours every week, which I don't want to do. So I'm doing the free speaking tests as part of the live stream. If you would like to have an organized speaking test, I'm charging a much reduced price of £25. I understand £25 for some people is a lot of money, for other people it's not. I priced it at £25 because I thought that would get the serious candidates and I wouldn't be overloaded. I don't want to charge $5 because maybe, 100 people will say, hey, I'll take it for $5. You might think, oh, well, you can make $500. That's not what I'm here for. I want to make sure that I have a steady supply of candidates, which means 2 or 3 serious people each week. That's all I want, 2 or 3 serious candidates each week. I try to get them for free, but I can't get them for free because when I try to do them for free, candidates unfortunately just don't turn up to the speaking tests and I waste time and I get a little bit annoyed. Yeah. All right. So that's enough of that. So yeah, if you would like to book a paid speaking test, then email me or, my email is everywhere. It's in every video. Send me an email and we'll arrange a day and time. But let's get on with the next candidate. We've had 15 comments. We had 28 comments to the previous one, so only 15 for this one. So I guess people got bored already and disappeared. Welcome to YouTube. Never do anything over 10 minutes because people disappear. So we have a few candidates. I'm just going to pick one at random. Okay, the next one we have is somebody called Tayyib. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Tayyib. I understand it's probably very disappointing if you're one of the people sending a message, you're sitting there and thinking, please pick me, and then I announce somebody else's name. Probably you hate me a little bit and say, why not me? Candidates are selected at random. And like I say, if you're unhappy with the random process, speaking test for £25, I think it's good value. You'll get a feedback video with that too. The feedback video is like 60 minutes long, so I think it's good value. I know not everybody can afford it, but okay, that's life, unfortunately. When I can't afford a car, I don't email the car company and ask them to lower the price and tell them that it's unfair. I just don't buy the things that I can't afford, and that might be sad, but, that's life. I think Ross IELTS charges like $25, and there are people on Fiverr.com. You go to Fiverr.com and type in IELTS. Some of them do it for like €10 or something, so, if you want a speaking test with someone, there are other alternatives. I think IELTS Advantage charges £50 or something like that, which is, so lots of different people with lots of different prices. The candidate Tayyib is here, so I'm going to invite him in, presumably him. Hello, Tayyib. Your microphone is muted, my friend. Hello?
Now can hear you me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Awesome. So before we start our speaking test, first of all, thank you for being a candidate. Thank you for being brave and coming on. Can you just tell us something about yourself?
I am a student and recently I have completed my graduation in textile engineering from Bangladesh University of Textile.
Why are you taking this IELTS test?
Now I am preparing myself for IELTS exam because I want to pursue my master degree from abroad, and that's why I need a specific requirement that I can meet to get admit in the university.
And are you planning to do your master's degree in Bangladesh, or are you planning to do it in a different country?
I am trying to pursue my master degree from abroad, and that's why I am preparing for IELTS.
And which country would you like to move to?
My dream country is Sweden, and because there is a lot of subject related my field, and that's why I am interested.
In which country, sorry?
Sweden.
I still can't hear it.
Sweden.
Oh, Sweden. Awesome. Do you know much about life in Sweden? Have you read much about, like, I don't know, Swedish culture or Swedish food or something like this?
I watched some video on YouTube and I try to learn about their culture and food and their diversity, and I try to learn about it.
Okay, awesome. All right, we'll get going in a moment. One thing I will say about Bangladesh candidates, I used to have a lot of Bangladesh candidates on the channel. For some reason, they've disappeared. I don't know why. One thing I find with Bangladesh, not just with Bangladeshi, but a lot of people in like South Asia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, the speed of speech is often really fast. I don't know if your first language is like Bengali or something like this. I don't know, maybe when you speak your first language, maybe you speak it more quickly than we speak it. It might also be that a lot of candidates think that speaking quickly means they will get good marks for fluency. That isn't true. We need to speak at a rate of speed, a rate that is understandable. And so do be careful that you're not speaking too quickly, right? Like I'm speaking right now, I'm not speaking super fast, but my speech is fluent and it's connected and it's okay. So do be careful that you're not speaking too quickly, because sometimes candidates speak so quickly that I can't understand, or the examiner might not understand what the candidate is saying, and that means that you can lose marks for, believe it or not, you can lose marks for pronunciation and you can lose marks for fluency and coherence if what you're saying isn't understandable.
Can I say something, sir?
Yeah.
In our native language, we speak so fast, and that's why we also speak in English very fast. And this is the main reason I think, and we speak so fast in compared to the other nations or public, those are speaking English.
Yeah,
And this is the main problem, I think so.
And you might find that if you do the speaking test in Bangladesh, if the examiner is from Bangladesh, Pakistan, or India, or another neighboring country, you might find that they are used to this rate of speech and they can understand you fine. So you might be okay. Like I noticed, there is a difference in the marks that I give sometimes to Bangladeshi candidates, and then they take the IELTS test for real and they get a higher mark. And I think part of that is because it's not so familiar to me. But yeah, just a small piece of advice before we get going: be careful with the speed of the speech because it can be difficult at times. Anyway, do you have any other questions for me before we start our test?
No, sir, I don't have any questions.
Cool. All right. So in a moment, I'm going to start the clock. I will be looking at the clock as we go. If I interrupt you during the test, it's only because I have my own time pressure. I must ask you a certain number of questions within that time. So if I do interrupt you, I'm sorry if it sounds rude. It's just part of the test. But all right, let's get going with this. Best of luck. So good afternoon. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
My name is Taib, and you can call me Taib.
Okay, thank you, Taib. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Where do you live?
I live in Bangladesh, and to be more specific, in Borishal, and which is located in the southern part of Bangladesh.
And what do you like most about living in this place?
To be honest, I love living in this place because it's my hometown, and there is no traffic in compared to the other cities in Bangladesh, and the environment is very fresh, and the ambience is also good, and that's why I love it.
And is there anything you'd like to change about this place?
To be honest, I want to change about the construction of road, because there is a lot of hole in the road during the commute when I travel from one place to another, and lot of accident happen, and that's why I want to change it.
And do you think you'll continue living in this place in the future?
I cannot say what will be happened in future, because I want to try to go abroad, and that's why in future I won't be live here.
Let's talk a little about your morning routine. What do you usually do first when you wake up in the morning?
When I first woke up in the morning, I fresh myself and perform my Fajr prayer, and then I take a cup of tea, and then I study around 2 to 3 hours for my IELTS exam.
And is your morning routine different at the weekend?
Yes, there is a lot of difference in my regular routine and weekends, because in weekend I try to get sleep at least 8 hours, but in weekdays I sleep around 6 to 7 hours, and that's why there is a difference between in my morning routine.
And was your morning routine very different when you were a child?
I cannot exactly recall what was the difference between in my previous childhood and currently. But in my childhood, I think there was a lot of free time. I slept more than 10 hours or 12 hours. It's mainly I don't know exactly what are the difference between in my childhood and right now.
And is there anything you could do to make your current routine better?
I think I should wake up more early and to do more, to be more productive, and that will be help me to perform better in the whole day.
Okay, let's talk about taking photos now. How often do you take photos of things?
To be honest, when I am traveling from one place to another or exploring some new places, in that time I took photo, but not regularly.
And do you prefer to use your phone or a real camera to take photos?
I preferred my phone because it's very convenient and easy to carry, and it has also a good camera, and that's why I prefer my phone in compared to rather than camera.
And do you think you're good at taking photos?
No, I am not good at all because I am not a professional. I am just a newbie and try to improve myself, and that's why I take photo. And after check its quality okay. If it's okay, I will preserve it, or otherwise I will delete it and then try to take new picture.
And do you ever post the pictures that you take online?
Sometimes I post some picture which I took, and sometimes when I travel in some historical place or some beautiful place, and I took picture and sometimes I posted them on my Instagram or Facebook.
Okay, thank you. Now, in this next part of the test, I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to speak about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. But before that, you'll have 1 minute to prepare for your talk, and you may take notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Okay, I understand clearly.
I've shared the topic in the chat. Can you see the topic?
I'm trying to open it. Yes, I got.
I'd like you to talk about a time when you met someone new. Your 1 minute of preparation time starts now. Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you'll have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
I would like to talk about a time when I met someone new, and this person was my from my close relative, and he is also my best friend. And I met him on a football match, and when I went to my near stadium, and there was a football match in between a local club, and I talked with them a lot of topics. And first of all, I didn't recognize him because he is new to me, and my friend introduced him to me, and in that time. We talk about a lot of topics. First of all, that was a football match, and that's why we talk most of the talk about a football and football related topics. And first I asked him and what is his favorite what is his favorite football player and what is his favorite football team. And he replied me and he told me that he likes Real Madrid, and I am also a fan of Real Madrid. And we talked about the current situation and we talked about the in that time how good the Real Madrid was, and when the Ronaldo playing Real Madrid, and how much trophy they own in that time, and lots of things we talked about. And there is a lot of things happened in between us. And after that, we went to a coffee shop and we took coffee and we discussed many things with each other. And it was memorable for me because this person also new to me, but he is not act like a new to me. He is also very friendly, and he is also very calm and as well as interesting. He is also, and we talked about a lot of things during that time. And I also remember him, and I gave him my phone number, and I told him that when he will be free, please call me, and we will meet in future because we will talk about a lot of things in football, and many things will be many things will can be happened in future time. That's why I provided my phone number. And recently he called me, and we meet a new place, and we talked about a lot of
Okay,
kind of
thank you.
things and many other
Thank
things.
you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so you've been talking about this time when you met someone new. Let's speak a little more now about first impressions. How important is it to make a good first impression?
I think it's a quite good for someone when he can create some good impression when he's meet someone new, and because people judge by his cover. When you showcase yourself to someone properly, and they will be interested in you, and they want to talk to you, and that's why I think first impression is the best kind of things when you meet someone new.
And what kind of things can we do to make sure that we make a good first impression?
First of all, I think we should wear a proper dress, and we should keep our beard light, and we should neat and clean, and we smell together. And secondly, I think we should talk properly, and we should communicate with them, and we should show interest them. We should show interest them. We are interested to them, learn from something them, and I think that will help them to create the impression.
I think you mentioned that we should talk properly. Can you explain what you mean there?
I think communication is the key to success, because when you can easily communicate with each other, they also show interest on us, and they also want to talk to us, and they will easily share their feelings with us, and that's why I think communication is very important.
Mhm. And do you think our first impressions of other people are reliable?
I don't think so, but it's mainly depend on person to person. And in my case, I mainly after talking with someone, then I will judge them he is reliable or not. But I don't exactly told about the other person.
Mhm. Let's speak a little more now about friendships. Some people say that loyalty is the most important characteristic in a friend. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree, because when there is no loyalty between two persons, there will be no friendship. Because when you can easily rely on your friend, you can easily do anything with him, and you can easily share your feelings with him, and you can easily trust him and do various kind of activity with him. And that's why I think loyalty is very important in friendship.
And what other characteristics do you think are important?
I think mindset matching is also important in friendship, because when your mindset is also matched with your friends, that will be very easy for you to talk to him, and also you can easily communicate with him, and you can easily share his feelings, and he will not judge you because you, both of you have the same mindset, and that's why you can easily share your feelings and many other things, and that's why I think mindset is also crucial thing in friendship.
And what are some undesirable characteristics in a friend?
I think it should be not be cheated someone and or backbiting, because it's also very bad. And when you are talk someone behind, it's also when this person listen, you told about him this kind of thing. It's very also, and he was also very feel offended, and he's also feel very, and he also feel awkward for this reason. And I think that can be happened in friendship.
Why do you think so many people find it difficult to make new friends as an adult?
I think as an adult, making a new friend is quite difficult, because in childhood, child can easily communicate with another child, but in adult, they think what will others think about them and how they judge him, and that's why it's quite difficult to make a new friend in adulthood in compared to the childhood.
And do you think the nature of friendships will change in the future?
I don't think so. The nature of friendship will change in future because if you want to make new friends, you should talk to him. You should share your feelings, and in future you have to do these things because in future if you want to make new friends, you go to meet some new people and talk to with them, and that's what we also do currently. And I don't think in future it will change.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test. So again, congratulations, you survived. Nothing bad happened. First question I want to ask you, Tayyib, is how are you feeling?
Uh, it is the first time in my eye showing live, and it is my hand is shaking right now because I am camera shy person, and it's also very interesting for me because I tried a lot to meet with you and gave an exam, and it's very interesting for me.
Awesome. Yeah, it's an interesting experience. Like a lot of people can speak English, but they don't have experience of speaking English under pressure. And of course, on test day, you'll probably feel some of these nerves too. I'm sure on test day, you'll be shaking a little bit because, you pay a lot of money for the IELTS test. It's important for your future. And so I think it really is something that a lot of people don't think about in their preparation is like, how am I going to manage and control my feelings? Do you think you did a good job of controlling your feelings in the test?
Yes, it is good for the participant if they can manage their emotions or control their nervousness, and it will help them to achieve their desired score. But now, but it's quite difficult for me to maintain this kind of thing because in that time my blood pressure will become high, and I also feel like shivering.
Yeah, a lot of candidates have asked me, like, how can I stay calm during the test? And I mean, I don't have a response to that. I know for me, I have my own ways of staying calm, but it doesn't always work for everybody else. So there's not much advice. Do you have any tips for anyone who might be feeling nervous? Do you do anything like, I don't know, like some people have this mindset where they imagine the situation a lot, or some people do some breathing exercises. Do you have any tips for people, like how they can stay calm?
I think they should interact with some people face to face or get some interview. It will help them to come. In my past time when I gave interview in my university, and I was also very nervous, but after did a lot of interview, and I overcome from it and try to overcome from it in my future.
Yeah, the feeling is like if anyone's had a driving test or a job interview or even a first date with like a girlfriend or something, it feels very much like that, where you just really nervous about things. So, like with a job interview, once you do 4 or 5 or 6 of them, you feel a bit more comfortable. And so doing mock tests can definitely help. But let's get to your English. What do you think are some of your strengths or weaknesses as a speaker of English?
My weakness, I think, I cannot control in my tense, especially past and present, when I'm talking because and I talk so fast and I try to improve it. And I think my strength is fluency. I can easily speak so fast.
Yeah, you do seem very fluent, right? You don't have hesitations. You never break down to think about what you're going to say next. Like you probably speak much faster than I speak, which is interesting. Remember that
Uh,
speaking quickly is we should be careful. And I do think that the speed that you speak, for me, it's too fast because I find it difficult to keep up with some of your ideas. I have to listen very carefully. And one thing examiners often think about is like, how much strain is on the listener. Now, many things can cause strain. It could be like wrong grammar or the wrong vocab. Like if you say like, I'm going to the shop yesterday, that might cause strain because the listener immediately thinks, okay, I'm going to the shop is like present or future, and then you use a time word like yesterday. I'm not saying that you do this, but that can cause strain. But sometimes fast rate of speech can also cause strain, that the examiner suddenly has to sit a little bit closer, they have to listen more carefully, and we don't want this. We don't want to give the examiner that pain of feeling like, okay, I really need to focus. And I felt that. Probably the people in the chat also felt that. I had to really work hard to try to follow your ideas. part of that isn't just how fast you speak, but it's also the lack of pausing, especially in part two, right? When we have punctuation, we have like a full stop or a comma. This is usually time for a pause. And you can probably hear in my language, I put some pauses in different places. And this is what we call chunking bits of language. And there are often parts where there's just no pause. It's like you speak like this, and then you say, I went to the shop, and then I went to the shop, and I talked to my friend, and then after that I went home, and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's machine gun fire speech. But I do think your fluency is strong, and I do think you'll get 7 for fluency and coherence. Sometimes the coherence means like, are your ideas clear, and do the ideas match the questions? And I think the language, your ideas are clear and they are on topic. It's just that I can't understand all of the ideas because there are too many ideas coming at me at once. So that's why I wouldn't give you a higher mark, but I think your fluency is strong enough to get that 7. The other place where I think you'll get 7 will be in vocabulary. I love the way that you use newbie. You talked about like taking photos. You say like, oh, I'm just a newbie, and I really like, language like this, kind of this modern stuff. All of your language is relevant to the topic. It's great. You don't struggle to find words like this. Yeah, you mentioned like the environment is fresh, which, you said the environment. I think like the environment is clean, or the air is, or it's fresh, or some. When you say like the environment is fresh, I understand exactly what you mean, but I just think like that's a little bit strange for language. I probably wouldn't use language like that. You said like he replied me instead of he replied to me. So there are some cases where you miss little prepositions, but I think you have enough vocab for a 7. Unfortunately, with your grammar and pronunciation, I have those as a 6. So pronunciation, it's just there isn't enough rhythm and intonation in there, and that's because you're speaking too quickly. In general, your phonology is good. I can understand individual words that you say. When you make sentences, it's fine. It's just that you speak so fast like this and there's no intonation. So we want to see, in English, we want to see things rising and falling and staying flat and things like this. So in different situations, like if we're telling a story, we might pause for a dramatic effect. And then I said to this guy, why are you looking at me like that? And he said, I didn't look at you like that. So you can hear different like emotions and different things coming through my voice. You only have, in this performance, you have one voice with like a very rapid rate, and that will stop you, I think, from getting a higher mark for pronunciation. And in grammar, you're right. I think you said like a person I meet in the past. It should be the past form, a person I met. You also have some problems with like singular and plural nouns, and I know a lot of candidates in Bangladesh have this problem too, where you say like a lot of hole in the roads, and of course it should be like a lot of holes in the road, because it's not one hole, it's many holes. And this is an interesting, and even high-level candidates in Bangladesh, for some reason, have that problem with singular nouns and plural nouns. I don't know if that's something that you can sit and think about and analyze, but those little mistakes can stop you from getting higher marks. I do think with grammar, like I think you said I am take photos, so like how we use the verb to be, I take versus I am take, or I do something versus I'm do something. Sometimes you misuse this verb to be. Sometimes you use it where you don't need it. And you are right about future time, present time, past time. You don't always get a lot of verb tenses. You overuse the present time a lot. But yeah, I think, a very respectable performance. 6.5 for me overall. I will not be surprised if you get a 7, because many candidates from Bangladesh, they get slightly higher, and I think you'll maybe because the examiner will be more familiar with this pronunciation pattern, you might find that you get a 7 overall. For me, it's a 6.5. I don't think you'll get, if you got a 6, I would be a little bit surprised, but not totally shocked. If you got 6.5, I would think, yeah, that's normal. If you got a 7, I really wouldn't be very surprised. I don't think you'll get 7.5. So I think you'll get 6.5 or a band 7. I haven't looked at the chat, so I don't know what everyone else is saying, but I guess maybe they're making the point that your speech is a bit fast. I don't know. But do you have any comments on your performance or any questions for me?
No, sir, I don't have any question, but I will sit on exam 10 December. Please pray for me. I will get my desired band score.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask me to pray, but my advice to you would be do your preparation work, and you will be absolutely fine. Your level of English is okay. Did you say what date did you say the test will be in December?
10 December.
10th of December. Oh, so it's very, very fast. Yeah, 6.57. What score do you need? Do you need like to go to Sweden? Do you need an overall score of like 7, 6.5?
6.5.
Okay.
6.5.
I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be fine.
Yes. My strong point is listening and reading, and I try to get at least 8 or 7.5 in those two.
Yeah, a lot of candidates, they do better in the listening and reading, the comprehension skills, and a lot of people who get a band 7 usually get like 8 in reading, 8 in listening, 7 in speaking, or 6.5 in speaking, and then like 6 or 5.5 in writing. Writing is always the weakest part. Do you feel this is true too for you? Do you struggle with the writing part, or is it okay for you?
Yes, I was also struggling with the writing, but now I am trying to cope up with it, and I did a lot of exercise, and in my mock test I get around 6.5 in writing.
Okay, no, so nothing to worry about then, because you'll be fine with the reading, you'll be fine with the listening. Speaking, you should get 6.5 comfortably, and if you get 6.5 in the writing too, yeah, you should be okay for Sweden.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Ty. Please let me know when you get your result. Please let me know. My email address is on like every video that I make. So when you take the test and you get your results, let me know your result, because I'd always like to check, the candidate score versus my score.
I will provide you my result after when I get.
All right, thanks a lot, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Hello.
All right, I'm going to go back into the chat to see if there are any. Nurkadi Tumar says, "Can I be your candidate?" Well, candidates are selected from the Telegram chat, not from the YouTube chat. Lazijon says, "Unfortunately, you have banned me from your Telegram channel." Yeah, I banned Lazijon because he applied from, I think, 4 different accounts at the same time, and I mentioned that this is strictly forbidden because it's cheating, because everybody should have an equal chance. Lazijon wrote from 4 different accounts, so I kicked him. Yeah, it's really not fair, I think, when people abuse the system like this. I have kicked a lot of people from Telegram, sorry about that. Looking at the scores, somebody says ridiculous. I don't know what's ridiculous. He doesn't have clear pronunciation and super monotonous, says Dark Star Envy. Yeah, it is, like I mentioned, there's just one voice there. There's not an emotive range, right? We don't see, happiness, and we don't expect too many emotions in IELTS, but we do expect, when we're speaking about things we like, we tend to use more positive pronunciation. And then when we're not sure about something, we show that through our pausing and maybe our intonation. So we hear that to get that C1 or higher, we definitely need to have more emotive range. We need to have more intonation. So for me, that will limit his pronunciation to a 6. Why not, says fluency and coherence 7. I agreed. Lexical resource 7. I agreed. Grammar 6 and pronunciation 6. So that's the exact score. I think why not got both candidates exactly right. Yeah, interesting. Okay, it seems to be that there's not too much activity in the chat right now. How long have we been going for? Yeah. Oh, we've been going for an hour and 40. I was hoping to do a minimum of 3, but I think I will have to cap it there. I have another paid speaking test in an hour, so I want to get just something quick to eat and then go to that speaking test. Remember, there will be more of these. Maybe I will even be able to do one next week, probably maybe on a Wednesday, maybe on a Thursday. Keep your eye on the Telegram. I will post details in there. Maybe I will take one of the candidates, probably not the first candidate because it's too, she's so strong. For the second candidate, I think I might do a feedback video on it. So if you're interested in the results, in the feedback for the second candidate, I might make a second video. It depends on how much time I have, because there are, I think in the line now, there are 7 or 8 paid speaking tests, and so I have to get through those. But remember, if you'd like to have your own free practice speaking test, they will now take place in these live chats, in the live streams. Details will be posted on Telegram and on my Facebook. If you're really desperate for this speaking test, if you feel like I really need the speaking test and I'm tired of waiting in the random, you can book a paid speaking test for £25. I know it's not cheap for some people, but yeah, that's the reduced price at the moment. And of course, if you can't afford that, you know, shop around. There are many other places where you can get a paid speaking test. And I think, you know, in general, you pay for what you get. And if you pay somebody €5, you're going to get very basic feedback, compared to, you know, if you pay somebody €100, for example. Yeah, any questions? Have you noticed that Tayyab texted twice? No, I didn't notice that, Masha. Oh, Tayyab posted twice in the Telegram. Okay, I don't know what I can say. I wish people would post once, but I don't know what I can say. Yeah, I will just stay for 5 minutes if anyone has any burning questions. Yeah. Can I pin messages or highlight? No, I can't pin or highlight messages because I'm not using StreamYard anymore. But does anyone have any? I guess when I said that I wasn't going to do any more tests today, I guess that was the sign for everyone to leave. I have no idea how many people are watching at the moment or how many people were watching in general. If anyone does have any burning questions, put them in the chat. I'll try my best to answer them. I can stick around for maybe 5 minutes more. Venom the Last Dance says, hello, Glean. I don't know who Glean is, but thank you, Venom. Hello to you. Let's have a look. Masha English Up says, I admire how relaxed this candidate is and how easily words fly out of his mouth. Yeah, it is. It's an amazing thing for me how so many of these candidates from, I hope my geography is right when I say South Asia, right? India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Now, I know that those countries do have, you know, their own cultures, their own identities. They are not part of one group. But when we measure the way that they speak English, they tend to have a lot in common. Super fast, super fluent, not much rhythm in terms of pronunciation, not much intonation. Kind of the T's become D's, the W become UH, like they say uhuat, uhuat, or uhuat, something like this. So there are a lot of things that they have in common. Yeah, and it is impressive. On the one hand, it's impressive that they're able to speak so quickly, but on the other hand, this isn't, you know, we want to speak in a way that the average person would be able to follow your ideas comfortably. And I feel so often with candidates from that part of the world, it isn't so easy to follow the ideas because the speech is just so fast. Why not, says Glyn. I am wrong, actually. Cheers, mate. Ha. L2 Shot says, what to do if you get a cue card that you never thought about? Can you give me an example of this, and I will make a random cue card, and maybe I can give an example. Because if I was writing the tests, that wouldn't happen. The people who write the tests, because part 2 is, you know, target level B2, it should be a situation that is either super familiar or fairly familiar or something that you can speak quite close to. So if it's like talk about something you've bought recently and you haven't bought anything recently, then talk about something that you bought not so recently. Talk about something you bought a year ago. If it's talk about a piece of clothes that you like, Everyone has some clothes that they like, no? I'm trying to think of an example of a bogus question. Sometimes it's like, talk about a time when you had a disastrous journey. That could be really tricky because you might not have had a disastrous journey, but you might talk about a journey that was really long or a journey that you didn't like very much. So it doesn't always have to 100% cohere, but it should be, the questions should be suitable for all people. And without an example cue card, I can't really give you advice on what you should do. If it's something you've never thought about, it shouldn't be something you've never thought about. It should be, a plan that you have or something that you do often or someone that you know or something that you've done in the past or an emotion that you felt, a time when you felt proud of something. They are designed to be universal so that they go across cultures, across other demographics, across genders, across age groups. Sometimes if you're a teenager of like 15, it can be difficult because you don't have life experience, but IELTS isn't aimed at people aged 15. So Pritam says, problem loading the chat. Interesting. So Pritam says, do examiners give 0.5 underband descriptors? I don't know what you mean. Like 6.5 instead of 6.7 for grammar. No. So for grammar, you'll either get 6 or you'll get a 7. You won't get 6.5 for grammar. You'll get 6 or 7. ChatGPT might give you 6.5 because ChatGPT might feel that it's borderline, or ChatGPT just cannot do the role of an examiner at the moment. For grammar, for fluency and coherence, for lexical resource, and for pronunciation, you will get a full band mark. You'll get a band 6 or a band 7. You will not get a band 6.5. That doesn't happen. What I do, right, if I'm borderline with grammar and I'm borderline with lexical resource, sometimes I will think, well, I'll mark one higher and I'll mark one lower. So it will balance out overall. Yeah, so sometimes examiners do that because in many cases they are borderline. We have the band descriptors, they are written in such a way, but sometimes we feel like, but you didn't meet that criteria. You were kind of band 6 with that little part, but you were kind of band 8 with the other one. So we shouldn't follow this like best fit approach. IELTS has this like hard cap approach. It's different ways of examining. It's boring, but most of the time examiners are giving like best fit. And I would say in most cases, I don't even know if IELTS examiners are very, very, very familiar with what's written in the band descriptors, but they do the training, you do the job, you get used to what sounds like a 7, what sounds like a 6, and then you award marks based on that. I'm lucky that I record the tests. I get to look at every tiny detail so I can mark more accurately. But most IELTS examiners, I guess, do it by feel, where they feel like, that grammar's probably good enough for a 7, we'll award 7. Yeah, that feels like 8 pronunciation, we'll award 8. So they don't always need to go into the band descriptors. In my experience of examining, the test centers are usually very, very strict. Don't rely on your own judgment, rely on the band descriptors. Forget about, is that candidate better than that candidate? Rely on the band descriptors. The band descriptors are your god. Only ever use the band descriptors. But examiners are human, and so they often give marks based on feelings. I noticed some Uzbek channels giving that and claim that they have band 9. I noticed some Uzbek channels giving that. Giving marks of 8.5. Yeah, maybe, Prita, maybe they do that because they feel it's borderline. Maybe they feel, there's justification for a 6, there's justification for a 7. It's a mock test, so I'll give 6.5. Sometimes I do that with my students, or I say, like, probably you're between band 6 and band 7. Maybe they are band 9 users of English or band 9 speakers, but that doesn't mean that they're good examiners, right? Most of my family members, all of my family members could get band 9 in speaking, but they wouldn't be able necessarily to examine people and apply the band descriptors. Pritam asks, how many examiners check my speaking and writing? 2 examiners? No. So IELTS isn't double marked. So in some exams, you'll have 2 examiners who mark, and then if their scores are similar or the same, great, you get that mark. If their mark is very different, if their marks are very different, then a senior examiner will go in and check it and decide what the correct mark is. Sometimes you have double marking where you have a first examiner who gives a mark, and then you have a reviewer who goes in and checks the mark for each one, so that they're double tested in that way. IELTS isn't like that. IELTS, in most cases, your writing and speaking will be marked by one examiner, but that examiner, a certain percentage of that examiner's work will be checked. I don't know what the percentage is at the moment. Probably, I would guess, around about 10%, but in many cases, you have like examiners that are new will have more of their work checked. Examiners that have been inaccurate recently will have more of their work checked. Examiners who've proven themselves to be reliable and accurate and have been doing the job for a long time will have less of their work checked. So the chances of your work being checked by a second examiner, it's difficult to say exactly what those chances are, but in most cases, your work will be checked by one examiner. Darkstar Envy says, how many cohesive devices are ideal in writing? You are approaching the writing part wrong. If you're looking for a number of how many cohesive devices you should use, that is absolute madness. We never want to put a number on it. As many as we need. If that's your preparation, if you're thinking about the number of cohesive devices you need, then that's mental. You should be thinking, how do I write an essay? Not just how do I write an IELTS essay, but what is essay writing? That's the skill that you need to learn. What is essay writing? How do we use cohesive devices? In what situations do we need cohesive devices? And maybe thinking about the different types of cohesive devices and making sure that we have a range. That's more important than the number. Pretam says, which is better, IDP or British Council? That's, again, insanity. Cambridge makes the test. British Council and IDP deliver the test. It's not one is better than the other. They might be, in some cities, there might be the case where like IDP has better audio than British Council, or British Council has better audio than IDP, or one building might be newer than the other building. So, in your local town, there might be some places that are more comfortable to take the test than other places. But is there a difference between IDP and British Council? No, that's absolute madness. Darkstar Envy says, because I just noticed someone say at least 6. 6 cohesive devices, I guess. I've never done a writing task where I counted the cohesive devices that I used. It's a mental approach. Umar Khan asks, how can I avoid making grammar mistakes? As an examiner on YouTube, it's not my job to say how you can avoid making grammar mistakes. What I will say is that IELTS is a measure of your English, and that is the thing that counts more than everything else. It's not about tips, it's not about tricks, it's not about strategies, it's not about impressing the examiner, it's not about, using this special strategy of like past, present, future. If your grammar level is B1, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And there's nothing that I can say there's no advice that I can give that, I can't say, if you want to stop making grammar mistakes, you should, No, if you're a B1, you're going to have mistakes in all places. If you're B2, you're going to have mistakes in all places, in many places. If you're C1, probably the majority of your clauses will probably have a mistake. So you can get band 7 in grammar with 55% of your clauses having a mistake. Band 8, we expect the majority of sentences to be error-free. So you only need to worry really about grammatical accuracy it's not true, but if you're aiming for a band 8, then you should think about how you can stop making mistakes. If you're aiming for a band 7, understand that you're going to be making mistakes, and that's fine. But how can you stop making grammar mistakes? Learn grammar? I don't know. Learn grammar, maybe? So Pritam asks, so it's fine doing that, giving 7.5 instead of 7 or 8 like real examiners? Well, Pritam, who am I to say what's fine? I would say in the real test, you'll get a mark. But if you're a teacher, you might say, yeah, you're probably a band 6, but you're very close to the band 7, and maybe some examiners might give you a band 7, so you can expect a band 7 or 6. So what should they do, Pritam? I don't know. That's up to them. You should ask them, right? Not me. Ask them why they're doing that. Pritam asks, why do many Uzbek people get band 8, 9, even if they mispronounce some words, especially ED sounds? Look at the band descriptors. Some mispronunciation of words is okay for a band 8. If we have repeated mistakes of these id endings, these ed endings, repeated mistakes, for me, that's probably enough to say band 9 shouldn't be given because it feels like a systematic error with pronunciation. But you'd have to ask the examiners who are awarding them. I wouldn't give a band 9 pronunciation to someone that was repeatedly mispronouncing ed words. They might get an 8 if everything else is great. The IELTS sphere is filled with misinformations. It's so tough to navigate, says Darkstar Envy. Yeah, that's because a lot of people take IELTS and a lot of people want tips and tricks. And so when people want tips and tricks, you have people who will give them tips and tricks because they want views on their YouTube pages, or they want to sell some course, or they want to make you think that they have secret information that you need to know. The worst example of this was someone writing like what the examiners don't want you to know about the reading. And it's like the examiners are not connected to the reading part at all. I've worked on exams where I have never, ever, ever seen the reading paper in that exam. Because I was asked to mark the writing and the speaking. And I had never seen the listening. I had never seen the reading. So when people say like stuff the examiners don't want you to know about the reading part, it's mental. We live online. We live in a world where people are trying to make money, people are trying to get views, and people will say anything. It is the world of misinformation, unfortunately. Yeah. How to navigate it? Yeah, it's, English. IELTS is an English test. The better your English, the better your score in IELTS will be. And that's it. No more secrets, no more tips, no more tricks, no more impressing the examiner. If you know English well and you are familiar with the types of tasks that will be in the IELTS test, you're going to get a good mark. One of my friends got a band 9 in speaking without any preparation at all because her English is just amazing. I'll take just 2 more questions. What's your opinion about using AI for preparation? It can be useful. I wouldn't, it can't do anything with your pronunciation. So when you speak to AI, it just transfers what it hears into text. It doesn't hear intonation. It doesn't hear pauses. It doesn't hear connected speech. So at the moment, it's very, very limited. It can give you vocab, it can give you model answers, it can be great for model essays if you're asking it the right question. And unfortunately, that's the problem with AI. Like someone like myself can get amazing model essays from ChatGPT because I know exactly what to ask it. Whereas other people might say, just give me a great IELTS essay, and it won't come back with a great IELTS essay. You have to be careful about the word count, about the ideas, about how you're going to structure it, and so on. So it can be very, very useful. It's better than nothing, but getting a teacher, a trainer, a coach, I think is better. Yeah, and how do they do marking on writing part in computer-based test? Well, they look at what you've written and they award marks based on what you've written. I don't know. I mean, for me, it would be a more challenging question. How do they mark the writing when it's paper-based? That's probably more difficult. That's a more difficult question. Some say AI doesn't know what a band 7 or 9 is and is not reliable. Is it true? Yep. ChatGPT is horrible at giving marks. I can only get a band 9 in speaking or writing if I tell ChatGPT to give me a band 9. If I say, I'm a native speaker, I'm an English teacher, I'm a linguist, and I'm an examiner, now change your marks. And then it gives me a 9. Otherwise, it gives me 6.57. It doesn't know. It just can't do it at the moment. Maybe in 10 years, probably it will be able to do it much faster than I can do it, but at the moment it's useless with marks. It can be good with feedback, it can be good with finding your mistakes or finding where you're going wrong, maybe, but for giving marks, no AI can do this. No AI can do this. Okay, some messages are still coming in, but unfortunately I have to leave it because I have a bunch of things to do and I've been going for 2 hours. So like I say, another live stream will be coming at you soon. Check the Telegram for more information on that. And remember, if you'd like to have a paid speaking test, £25 in December and January. I think it's an incredibly generous price for what you get. You get the speaking test, you get a bit of instant feedback, but importantly, you get that feedback video. You get about 50 minutes where I go through everything that you say in detail to help you understand perfectly what your score is. So yeah, if you're interested in that, send me an email, get in touch via Telegram, and so on. Anyway, nice to speak to you all. I'm glad that we only had one cancellation. One person wasn't ready. That's cool. Looking forward to the next one. More videos coming from me soon. But for now, bye-bye.